Welcome to Annexed Dinner Table Reviews Royals. I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Devin.
And today we're going to be looking at Royals. In this game, you are going to be playing as one color, trying to get the most points. You score points by being the first person to claim a city. You get points for having one person in every city. And then you get points based on influence of a country. And then there's some extra points if you get one of every noble. You start by collecting cards that have different crests on them for the different countries. And when you collect the appropriate number, you can play them and put one of your tokens on the noble in that city and then on their handy dandy little picture card. At the end of the game, whoever has the most cubes on the picture frames gets the picture frame and the number of victory points at the bottom. If it is a two-way tie, it splits apart and you get half the points. So that's the main concept. There is some assassination you can do with these other cards, and they have little crests on them, 2 crests on each of them, and if you play the correct crest and the cost of the noble, you can push another noble into the chapel and take their spot. So I really enjoyed this one. It was fun. You had a whole bunch of thinking you were doing with getting cards and luck, but also based on just like where are the most points lying? Are they in the, France? Are they in Germany? Or is it a little bit of everything?
Yeah, there's tons of different ways to score in this game, whether it's just by claiming a simple title in one of the countries or having a noble in every single city in the country and claiming the points for that country. Or at the end of the era, you collect points for being the highest influencing in the country. There's just a ton of different ways to score in this game.
Yeah. I will say at 2 players, it does get a little bit tense and arguing ensues because you are killing the one person's nobles and not spread out. So it just feels a little bit more attacky than when you're at those higher player counts.
Yeah, it's very much like a take that game where always in those type of games, you're going to be in head-to-head. It's just going to be very aggressive and very attacky. Whereas you can distribute your angst and ambushes and assassinations, it seems to go over a little bit better.
At least in our house. And at 2 players, it definitely has a different feel than when you play with more people. When we played with our 4-player group, there were 4 people getting nobles, so the ones for cities just went a lot quicker, and that meant that you were having to really attack and assassinate more in order to get the points that you were looking for.
Which is funny because also in our 4-player group versus our 2-player game, the country points didn't actually get taken that much. Like in our 2-player game, it was jockeying for country control a lot more, whereas in the 4-player game, it was a lot more just vying over specific titles and specific cities.
Yeah, and I think that does come in a 2-player game and a 4-player game. You do take some cards away, but not a drastic amount comparatively, and so you had fewer turns. So I was looking for, 6 cards in the France. Well, it took me so much longer to get them, and by the time I did, an entire era had gone. And
yeah, with that many players, if you have someone who's saving up for the 8 cards for a king, you might not see a country pop up almost at all through an entire era.
I loved this little mechanism with the portrait where instead of just being like, oh, it's a tie, you know, split them, it really is like, it is a tie, this piece breaks apart and you split it, and it's only a 2-player tie. We had a couple like 3-way ties. This is just lost.
Yeah, no points for a 3-way tie.
Yeah. I thought that the board was also really well laid out. You have all of these tokens. There's a whole bunch of them, all for different things, but the board shows you exactly how many points or which piece you're supposed to put where, because, you know, this 3-point hexagon has a spot here in Spain, and it says 3 on it, which was really nice because you weren't having to refer to a rule book all the time going, okay, Edinburgh, which one is that supposed to be? And it's just like everything was laid out on this, ready to go.
Yeah.
Concept-wise, I thought that it worked really well. You're in a monarch of like the first era, 1648, and you're just really going for that like political control over these countries and moving those royals, even the cards with that little like blood on the letter opener kind of thing, just really drove home that theme that I feel like fit really well with this style of game.
Yeah, and you know, really great art also. Like it you know, really detailed, and I love the way that the cities pop against and have that bold outline against the, you know, map in the background.
Yeah, and it's super easy to just see what countries go where because they do pop out, and the colors that they have, that red, the green, really kind of stand out from each other. So you're like, yes, this is a much smaller, Britain is much smaller than all of them, really. And so it was super easy to see what was happening. And then, as you said, the artwork is very gorgeous. Just, it feels old-timey almost, as if you had taken a painting of the 17th century and aged it.
Yeah.
I felt that the mechanic of collecting cards to buy nobles is not unique. It's, you know, a lot of card games, and really board games in general, have you gathering resources in order to collect a thing, but that the intrigue cards with that assassination were really unique because normally you have like a kill card. I'm going to kill you. You don't need to also be able to take that like this one. Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. And it's very much a matching game with, you know, you need X number of cards, but then if you want to use wilds, you can do that also. So, ultimately in the card collecting portion of it, it is very similar to other games, but I do believe the intrigues are fairly unique.
Yeah. And I think that what really just makes this game special is that mechanic, that intrigue card mechanic is really just the driving point in this game, stealing other people's cities, but they're not losing their cubes on the noble pictures, so it doesn't really always matter if you've been assassinated, and just collecting those points that you start on the board with all the points and then you're slowly taking them off, which is unique and just a really great mechanic, I think.
Yeah, and definitely having to balance, you know, which nobles you have, which countries you have, and really trying to diversify enough to get points in a little bit of everywhere to take home the victory.
Yeah. I think that this was a pretty easy game to learn because at its heart, it really is like that matching game where you're drawing cards, trying to get the same number. So super easy to learn. I think that the hard part really is that strategy behind it, like always balancing how many, you know, influence points you have and the nobles don't always give the same amount of influence in their country. So like the cardinal in Britain gives 3 influence points, where in France it only gives 2. So you're really having to balance a lot and trying to like keep track of a whole bunch of points and scores in your head. So I think this one's really a good game, but you do need to be a little bit older. I would say like 12 to 14 to start getting good strategy behind this one.
Yeah, I agree on that.
So that's what we thought about Royals. If you like this video, hit that button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications of our newest videos.